Hello, and welcome to Association Transformation, the not so new, more than international. I think we have more countries on our list now than ever before. So we're international, we're worldwide. We are coming to you week by week with new conversations and new initiatives and innovations, all in the association and nonprofit space. And I'm excited to be with my co-host, Mr. Andrew Chamberlain.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. I'm very well. Thank you for asking. You never really turn it back to me, but I appreciate you.
How dare you?
I appreciate you asking.
Oh my God, I can't believe you said that. That's so rude. My God.
I'm just acknowledging that you're giving my emotions and wellness and some consideration. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, well, don't get used to it, right? Okay, don't get used to it. Move on.
Okay, so we're back to normal. Good. Want to thank Brewer Pratt Solutions and Consort Strategy, our partners and sponsors for this podcast, as well as the Institute of Association Leadership. I'm maybe even more than the sponsors. I'm really excited about our guest. She and I go way, way back. We won't tell you or admit how long it's been, but she is one of those tech gurus. You find people in different segments of the industry that you just trust, and they seem to be able to say things in a way that you can understand. And I'm not techie. I wholly admit. Oh, you're not techie either.
I am techie. I am techie. Compared to you, I am.
Well, that's not saying a lot, okay? If that's what you're hanging your hat on, then you're in trouble too.
You're my benchmark, as long as,
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's just when you admitted earlier on that you have an HP, I thought, yeah, she's not techie whatsoever, actually.
Because you have a Mac and I have an HP?
What can I say? Yeah, the Mac speaks for itself. Yeah.
Okay, we're not gonna fight this battle right now, but
right now we're not.
Not right now. Let's put this in the parking lot. Anyway, come on. I want to introduce Mary. She's here. She's waiting. She's on the West Coast, so it's early for her. Anyway, I am excited to bring to the podcast Mary Gross, a longtime friend, a longtime IT and association consultant and contributor, and the person I bring in to work with my chapters, my associations, my clients when technology integration is necessary for websites, for their tech stack getting out of control, anything that I need her to help translate from tech speak into association speak. Mary Gross is my go-to person. Mary, thanks for making the time to be with us and putting up with our banter.
It's great fun. It's a great way to start the day.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. And now, these days you're so entrepreneurial and you have your hands in so many projects. I'm excited about your newest venture. You're one of the founders of Advertise My Nonprofit. And as I understand it, this really takes on one of the areas that I don't know anything about, and that's Google Ad Grants. I admit it. Andrew, are you laughing?
Yeah. It's just the way you said. It's one of the few things I don't know anything about. That's all.
I can count them on one hand. Okay. I don't know anything about Google Ad Grants. I'm brave enough to admit it, and I'm brave enough to ask for help.
Do you know what? Neither do I. So thank goodness you're here, Mary. Thank goodness you've joined us. We've been recording this podcast for about 45 minutes, and we still haven't actually said anything about Google Ad Grants.
Well, Mary's here to save us, okay?
Cool.
I think as Andrew and I have gotten more involved with the Institute for Association Leadership, and I know I have more philanthropic clients, Google Ad Grants are something that have come up. Not only today, yesterday, but in these last kind of 12 months. How did this come about for you? How did Advertise My Nonprofit come about for you?
Well, as you mentioned, I've been in this space a long time and have certainly known about the Google grant for many years. It actually came into being in 2003. I was at the conference. Yeah, I was at the conference of nonprofit tech people when Google announced that this was going to be available. So it's been around a long time. They've got a lot of track history, et cetera. And many nonprofits have come to use it over the years. So I've worked with it, over the course of my career. But in last year, I did a workshop for a local nonprofit, And we were kind of trying to do what the heartbeat of what was happening in the nonprofit sector as a result of the pandemic. How were people responding? What was happening? Some nonprofits were having record contributions coming into their organizations because people's generosity was there. So, but in interviewing nonprofits ahead of time, I discovered that a lot of them either were not using the grant or were using it, but it wasn't very effective in the sense of not being generating the kinds of activity that they had hoped for, et cetera. And so I started doing more research and determined that there were enough people that had it, but that because their internal team is not as proficient in managing advertising as they could or should be, they weren't getting the benefit from the grant. So I did my research and determined this is something I would like to do in the sense of take all the marketing and nonprofit experience that I've had over the last 25 years plus, and turn it into an assist for nonprofits. And so that's how we started Advertise My Nonprofit.
Now, you mentioned nonprofits, and I usually use the term associations because I'm coming from the membership space. Is the Google Ad Grant opportunity really only for the charitable side? Is this nonprofit specific versus trade association or membership association specific?
You have to be a 501c3 under the IRS code. So if you are something other than that, it is likely not applicable. It is targeted at the charitable nonprofits.
And I know I was looking up to see if the IAL might be eligible for this. And Andrew, I don't know if you've done any work in the UK with the Google Ad Grants. Oh, wait, you already admitted you don't know anything about it.
Yeah, thanks.
Mm-hmm. But I know we didn't qualify because we weren't of the right type of community interest entity that you needed to be in the UK. So this is something that are available worldwide, but in every circumstance you have to be the right type of organization.
Correct. Well, like all things, there's eligibility criteria.
So how are they qualifying? What's the criteria? Because I don't really. You just said some letters there, numbers 501c3 something. Well, I don't know what that means.
Well, in this country, that's the under the Internal Revenue Service, which is the tax organization of this country. They have classifications for all kinds of companies and nonprofits, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And that is the one for nonprofits in this country. I have to admit, I don't know what it is in your country, but...
Yeah. And 501c3s is a large designation. So it includes philanthropic, it includes charitable, it does include some individual membership societies. So that's still quite a large amount of the nonprofit entities in this country, but it would exclude those trade entities and trade associations.
So on what grounds did we not qualify for it then?
The UK had other restrictions. You'll have to ask Izzy to...
Oh, my goodness me. I'm just going to blame Brexit. I'm just going to say Brexit. I'm just going to say it's probably that. It's probably, yeah.
You blame it on that, right?
Yeah.
There's some other eligibility criteria that is in play as well. And one of them is the organization has to be registered with the global nonprofit called TechSoup. And if people are not familiar with TechSoup, it's an amazing technology support system for nonprofits throughout the world. And it's TechSoup.org. Oh. So nonprofits would have to be registered there. And like with all things that are provided for free, there are some strings attached in terms of service. There are guardrails on how this program can be used and things you cannot do. So as long as you stay within the guardrails, you'll have a really successful program. There are certain 501c3s, which is that classification for nonprofit, that are not allowed to have this grant. And they fall under kind of a looser part. But one of them is education. So there are academic institutions who are technically a 501c3, but they don't qualify for this grant because Google has a special grant for education institutions. But hospitals and certain kinds of healthcare organizations are also not qualified. So for the most part, it's very widespread in terms of the number and types of nonprofits that can apply for the grant. And the final criteria is that they have to have a working website or landing page that provides adequate and relevant, and that's a big word for Google, is relevant detail on the nonprofit. So it needs to be clear to someone coming to the page what the nonprofit does and what the benefit of participation is. So even if you're selling a product, your nonprofit is selling a product, when you come to the page and it says this t-shirt is for sale, it says proceeds for this shirt go to benefit blah blah blah. So that's how they work it.
So, for an organization to even consider pursuing something like this, if they do meet those criteria, which they'll need to look into individually in whatever region they're in, governed by those rules. How much money are we talking about here? I mean, is this like winning the marketing lottery? What kind of a chunk of cash are we talking about?
In a way, it is. Okay, so as consumers, we often are leery of the word free because it comes with things. But in this case, the grant is actually free. There is no dollar exchange between the nonprofit and Google. So they
just write a check.
They allow no, there's no cash. You just get to use their advertising up to $10,000.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
Up to $10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Best way to describe it.
Okay.
And you have to spend a certain amount of money every day. So you have to spend at least $329 every day. Okay. And for some nonprofits, that's tricky because they're not really sophisticated in maximizing the spend. So, but the actual cost of the advertising is zero. Now but
that number, I'm sorry, that number only gets you like 25 or 26 days of advertising.
Yeah, but that could be quite a lot. That could be quite a lot.
It's $10,000 every month.
Right.
What, in perpetuity? So if you qualify for it, you could just keep on getting $10,000 a month for forever.
Yes.
If you keep qualifying. Wow.
If you qualify and if you play by the rules.
So I'm just
wow.
Yeah, well, I'm just looking here at what the kind of the qualifications are. I just want to clarify this for listeners in the UK, because I'll cop it in the neck if we don't mention this. But your non-profit needs to be a registered charity in the UK, which many trade associations, membership bodies, professional associations are. Arguably, as many aren't, but this is certainly something that is readily available to the membership environment in the UK. But that blows my mind that I could get up to 10 grand's worth of advertising every single month. Wow. That's just brilliant. That's just
how often do you have to reapply? I mean, how
don't.
What?
You don't.
So it just keeps on going.
It just keeps on going. Like I said, it started in 2003.
This is too good to be true. This
it just keeps on going unless you do something that disqualifies you. And I worked with a nonprofit recently that 6 years ago, the people that managed, the grant then, they still don't know what happened, but they somehow or other their account got hacked or whatever, and ads were placed that pointed people to inappropriate pages.
Uh-oh.
And so the grant was shut down, and everything we tried to get that grant reinstated, even 6 years later.
So one strike, you're out. One strike and you're out.
Yeah. So to me, it's sort of fair. They're giving you this valuable resource, and if you don't manage it properly and don't, follow their guidelines, then you lose the benefit.
But they're not giving any support. I mean, they're not giving you, to your point, the training or the hand-holding. They give you this credit, you draw it down, but you have to know what you're doing and know how to meet their
Well,
expectations?
yeah, no, it's not fair to say they don't give any support. They provide a lot of information on their website, and they have organized a group of volunteers. So there are volunteers out there who will support people as they get the grant, etc. But volunteers are volunteers, and sometimes they stick with it and sometimes they don't. So there is a lot of support, and there's tons of videos and Facebook groups, and just like everything, there's support out there if you look for it. But organizations often just pay somebody to do it because they want the efficacy of the professional assistance. So,
because how impactful are Google ads? I mean, what? I mean, I'm guessing there's a lot of data demonstrating simple things like click-throughs or whatever. But
Right.
what are the data? What is the data around this?
Well, there's all advertising is just as good as it's designed from the standpoint of the quality of language, the quality of strategy, etc. So all of those things are in play. Now, one thing about the Google grant that is a little different is the grant only pays for what is called search marketing. So that is when you go to a Google page and you type something in and the results come up on the page and you see the ads at the top, that is referred to as search marketing. It does not pay for what's called retargeting, which most people find very annoying. It doesn't pay for display banners, so the little banners that end up on different pages and stuff. So the grant can only be used by search marketing, but search marketing of all of those tactics is the most effective. If you look at advertising on social media, advertising through banner ads, etc., none of them are as effective as search marketing. So it could generate of the results, it could generate in excess of 60% of the activity. So it's quite effective. Now, the trick is you send people to the page, whatever, campaign page or, membership page or whatever it is. Now, if that page is not effective, then you get the traffic there. You get the traffic to the front door, but you still got to get people to open the door. So.
Potentially, it's counterintuitive. If the destination is poor, no one's going to want to carry on. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the work that you're doing with organizations is not just to help them understand, qualify, and secure the grant itself, but it's to have that place, that landing place, and what you're then directing people to do be effective and be relevant to the organization's mission.
Right. We often get asked about landing pages. Why do you have to have them? What good are they, etc. In the old days, people just sent people to the homepage of and if you think about it, the user gets to the homepage and thinks, what am I supposed to do here? Well, if you direct the traffic to a specific location, then your messaging can be very concrete and very detailed, and your calls to action can be very clear about what you want people to do. People are very good at executing what you want them to do if you are explicit in the ways that you ask them. So, landing pages are, especially ones that are specifically designed for something, are always the most effective. And all of us that participate on the internet hit landing pages all the time. Sometimes they are part of the website and sometimes they're kind of separate. So for us, once we get people to that page, one of the things that we do is we have had things coded so that we can track the metrics of exactly what's happening. And then we get what's called a conversion. And marketers love conversions because that's something they can hang their hat on in terms of success and ROI.
So you say you're coding it in a way, can you tell where they're coming from, that they're coming from the Google they're coming from that pass through, and you can say that came from as a result of the grant. Great.
If things are coded properly on a website, we can, or emails that go out, we can get very specific with the analytics to really parse out exactly what's happening, what the sources of activity are, and how successful each of those sources are.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think websites is, as we open that can of worms,
Oh, God, yeah.
websites themselves would have to be a 12-part series for the
Yeah.
podcast to tackle everything that they could, should, and might be. So I'm not sure how deep to go into the website world, but I think it's very exciting that I had no idea the amount of money we're talking about. But the opportunity that exists to drive traffic to your site, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, but drive that traffic there and potentially increase donors, increase members, subscribers, letter signers, anything that you could ask people to do as it relates to a charity. I think it's impressive. I mean, what organization wouldn't want to go through this?
Exactly. And I often get that question about, should we get the grant, et cetera. And I always answer, well, why not? And there are certain kinds of organizations that it's not in their benefit. So for instance, if you get all of your funding through the federal government, you don't need to advertise. But there are many, many organizations that could benefit. So if you think about, could you use more eyeballs on your website? More traffic means more participation potentially. So yes, it's a why not. It doesn't hurt to check into it and get a better understanding of what the value of participating might be.
Well, and I like the idea, from a staff executive perspective of, hey, everybody, we want to do this Google Ad Grant thing, but we don't have the website that's best positioned to maximize the impact. So, if that's your excuse to get the website cleaned up and ready to go first, that may not be a bad thing either.
Plus and that is definitely something we always talk about is whether or not it's in everyone's. And there's certainly advantages and disadvantages, but it's one of those individual things that's organization specific. And that is kind of the conversation that we have with people as well.
Well, Mary, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. I mean, Andrew and I have both gotten quite an education today.
Yes.
For the listeners, I love the idea of just planting the seed, helping to give them an awareness of this opportunity, that there are organizations like Advertise My Nonprofit that can walk you through this, but even just an awareness of the potential funding, the support that's out there, and that criteria. I encourage everyone eligible to look into this.
Yeah,
I think that's. Go on, Mary. Go on.
I was just going to say that's what I love about it is the fact that it can open doors for people that they couldn't open on their own, and that's the beauty of it.
And I think also, just my final reflection is that I think also it gives you it's an excuse, if you like, or the reason why you then look at your broader marketing and advertising and communications piece. If you're benefiting from $10,000 a month, you may as well make the most of it. So you may as well make sure what's behind it is worth looking at. So I love that it points to the whole piece. It's not just a simple, look, here's some Google ads, get on with it. It's actually much more sophisticated than that. Yeah, I like it. Exactly. I love it.
That's great. I mean, such potential, such opportunity for the organizations willing to get educated, get hands-on, and put it into place. Well, Mary, thank you so much for joining us. We need to have you back as part of a panel on websites, because that is probably the bigger environment that we're talking about here in terms of success and marketing potential. So please do come back, and thank you so much for getting up. Thanks for getting up early to join us this morning. We very much appreciate it. And if you have any ideas or suggestions for a guest or a topic, we'd love to hear from you. You can tweet us at Association Transformation or email us hello@yourconsort.com, and we'll draw upon all of Andrew's 4 friends and then my network to come up with topics that do push the envelope in the association space. We hope you've enjoyed listening. You can find Association Transformation wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to make us one of your favorites. And until next time, stay well and put your members and your mission first.
Association Transformation is brought to you in partnership between Consult Strategy and Brewer Pratt Solutions in support of the Institute of Association Leadership.